Hey there guys, Matthew here from the Who Addicts, joined by Liv and Jacob in person, sat around a table, because we are finally going to be reviewing and talking about brand new Doctor Who. As of course last night, The Woman Who Fell to Earth aired. Doctor Who Series 11 is here and we're going to talk about it. Of course you can listen to this very review on podcasts on the go. Just search for the Who Addicts on your podcast provider and you should find this video there so you can listen to it on the go, in the gym, driving, wherever you are. So yes, let's just start with our thoughts then. What did we all think of The Woman Who Fell to Earth?
I thought it was a really good series opener. I know we went into the episode, well, at least I did, with kind of the expectation that it would be more of a character piece than plot-based. So what we got, I was quite impressed with, because I thought the villain, Chim Shaw, whatever you want to call him, was quite good, but at the same time it left a lot of space to focus on the characters. So overall, yeah, I was quite impressed with it. What about you guys?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and for a series opener, and in my note I put that the first time I found that a series opener so was also so very accessible for new viewers.
Yes, I agree. I think it ticked all the boxes it needed to. It was never going to be the grand scale of a finale with a villain fitting of a finale or anything like that. With it being the first episode of a new series, a new era, it had certain things that it had to do, and I think it did everything that it needed to. The villain obviously wasn't the greatest villain we've ever seen, but it wasn't about the villain. It was about establishing new characters, new Doctor, this new era, and making it accessible, and it did exactly that. I think it did its job in terms of what it had to.
Yeah.
So I think you can't really complain about that. So one thing that I really enjoyed first off the bat was how it started and it focused on the companions.
I did as well.
I thought it was a great choice to leave the Doctor for a bit, focus on Ryan, Yasmin and Graham and getting them into the story first. So what did you think of the start of the episode and them three in this episode?
So I really enjoyed how for the first time in ages that so I found these companions so normal, and so compared to past companions that we have had.
I mean, comparing to Clara, she seeing all of the companions just doing their thing, having their normal jobs, going about normal business. It was just quite reassuring to see that they are just normal human beings. So I think the way that they did kind of leave the Doctor out of it completely for a bit and then bring her in, I think worked really well. And the scene on, obviously we saw first Ryan on the hill with, well, we now know that Graham is his step-granddad. So there's it seems to be more of like a family thing going on there. And then then we've got the Yasmin who went to school with Ryan. So you kind of get the feeling that even though they're not kind of that close, they still know each other relatively well, even, so yeah, I quite like the dynamic of the companions already, and also I'm looking forward to seeing them interact with the Doctor more in the future. Yeah,
I thought the three of them were very good. They sort of they built a little bit of a story around them all as well, obviously with Ryan having a bit of friction with Graham as well. I thought that was quite interesting that they put that in there. Already knew Yasmin, of course. We had a bit of an insight into their normal lives, of course. Ryan with his, is it dyspraxia that he has?
Dyspraxia.
Like I say, Graham, he doesn't really see his granddad yet. Obviously, Yaz, we've seen having problems at work. Just little normal things that just make them that little bit more relatable.
Ryan's a YouTuber, so we relate to him as well.
We do relate to him, we do. So yeah, we can get him on the channel at some point. But it just gives them all a story and it gives them all a meaning, instead of them just being random companions that have just been thrown straight in there. So I don't think we can complain about them, and it established them all before the action got started as well. Which...
And also what I like is that them companions, slowly but surely, it's all built up to the Doctor's arrival.
Yeah.
Which I also liked.
Yeah, I mean, talking of the Doctor's arrival, that scene on the train was something else, wasn't it?
It felt like a completely kind of different show. I mean, I don't know if any of you have seen Bodyguard, which was on BBC
I did.
One
I loved it.
a couple of weeks ago, and that had a scene on the train which was, well, quite different, but there's been a lot of creepy train scenes recently on BBC One. But yeah, that scene, I don't know about you guys, but it did feel a bit like kind of Torchwood vibes almost, like, because there was just like this creature on board that we didn't know what it was, what its intentions were, and it was coming towards them, and then obviously just before it got to them, the Doctor crashes through the roof of the train. But yeah, that was such a good scene that got me on edge. And
also with that train scene, which I also like was the music that was also playing in the background, really, and that music just really built the atmosphere up.
Yeah, I think we got a hint of the theme tune as well, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah,
when Jodie appeared.
I like that.
That kind of sent
I
chills.
love the theme tune. Very classic.
Yeah, it was such just the music and the direction of it as well, how it looked. It just really set an unbelievable tone. Yeah,
Stunning.
it was. The sort of score in the background throughout the episode just kept things ticking. And I think it is different. It is new. So yeah, I think I think it's fantastic so far, and the theme tune, of course, which we'll talk about a little bit more at the end, is amazing. So what about the woman herself then? Obviously we spoke briefly about the companions, but what about Jodie Whittaker's 30th Doctor with that arrival?
I was scared that they were going to write her a bit silly. So compared to previous in Regeneration series openers, so I was so scared that all it was just going to be was forced jokes, so also really forced humour. But no, I really liked her arrival.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I thought that Jodie and her portrayal as the Doctor was probably one of the best things about this episode.
Definitely.
I mean, obviously it's been we found out that she was a Doctor back in July last year, so it's been a long time coming to see her in action, and she's blown us all away.
And she's so northern. I just love it.
Oh, she's very northern.
There was a lot of this episode that was very northern.
Yeah.
To the northerners.
Yeah, I agree. I think they got a really good balance of the kind of post-regenerative madness, whilst also you could tell that she was the Doctor, and you can kind of get sort of a grasp of what kind of Doctor she's going to be like already, even though it's only the first episode. Yeah,
she took control straight away. As soon as she landed in that train, she took control. She was leading the way, and she was the Doctor, and I was glued to her in them first 10 minutes. I could not take my eyes off her. She was absolutely amazing. The episode then continues. We see the team together for the first time, and what do you think of them as a dynamic, as a TARDIS team? Because I think that they all bring something different. Ryan's a little bit more young, vulnerable. I think Yaz, not too headstrong, but I think she's solid enough. But I think Graham brings just the perfect amount of comic relief.
Yeah.
It wasn't, like I say, it wasn't forced comic relief. It wasn't like Nardal was when he first come into the
full on.
Yeah, it wasn't too full in your face. He just brought a nice little bit of comic relief.
Yeah.
Just to keep you smiling.
It's a different type of humour as well, isn't it, to what Nardal brought? It's more kind of like a subtle kind of
humour that we all like.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of love for
not too much.
All the companions so far.
Apart from Yaz.
Yeah.
I picked up on Twitter that if I was scrolling through last night, so a lot of people were bored of her.
Yeah, it's a bit...
So we're not really having a story behind, but it was also, to me, she did have a story behind, was the work side of the story.
I think there's definitely more to explore with the character, but I do get that this episode it seemed to be a bit more focused on the side of Ryan, and obviously because Graham is related to Ryan. I think that's why it kind of feels like they focused on them a bit more than her. But I think there's definitely more to Yasmin, which I'm looking forward to seeing. Yeah, she was getting called boring and stuff, and I think that's a bit too harsh to label her as boring already. Yeah, I mean, they can only do so much. I think there's going to be a lot more from her to come in the coming episodes, so I wouldn't look into that too much. Now, I thought the start of the episode, that was a great pace about it. And then she created her Sonic as well, which was the scene we've all been waiting for. I thought that was an epic scene.
I loved, for the first time, seeing a Doctor make her own Sonic just on the spot. And so set from it previously, so all of a sudden popping out the TARDIS. So I thought that was excellent.
Yeah,
how she did that.
It just gives the Sonic a bit more meaning, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just popping out the TARDIS. The fact that she's made it herself. I mean, it's not my favourite in terms of design, but
I like it.
It means more to me just by seeing her create it. I don't know if
Yeah.
you feel the same about that. But I feel like after she created the Sonic, the episode took a bit of a lull, as in there was a lot of questions and answers and explanations. It's like they were trying to tell us too much at once, trying to get all the questions and answers done in a short space of time to set the scene for what's actually going on.
So I got bored in the middle of it. I got bored.
Yeah, I wouldn't say bored's what I wouldn't say I was bored as much, but it just dropped off a little bit.
I was bored.
Yeah.
So it was the constant questions, constant talking scenes, and not much action.
There was a lot of explanations, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think we
Of
kind
like the
of
plot
slowed down a
early
bit.
on.
Like, I think because obviously we were really excited, and the first kind of 15 minutes of the episode was kind of focused on meeting the characters. You had the train scene, it was kind of this adrenaline. We had this weird thing that appeared in the forest with Ryan, and then it kind of just I think it just started to slow down a bit, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I do get that in some places the pacing started to slow down. But I wouldn't like to kind of brand it as a bad thing, but it was just a bit contrasting to what it kind of got accelerated and then it kind of dropped again, which I think it picked up again towards the end of the episode, definitely.
Oh, without doubt.
But the middle of the episode did kind of start to just stagger along slowly.
Hmm.
So what did you guys think of like the villain, like Tim Shaw? Because to me, he looked very creepy.
Yeah,
So was the teeth in his face, but I just find where Chibnall is concerned, and to me, Jose is so good at the characters and so writing them in and building them up. But so what I found disconnected to the episode was the villain.
It's a hard one because obviously he's not going to be the greatest villain for the first story, but I agree. I do think that you could see Chibnall's strengths and weaknesses. I think his strength is definitely character building.
Yeah,
I think he is head and shoulders above Stephen Moffat in terms of character building, and he's probably better than Russell was. I mean, obviously, I'm not just going off Doctor Who. I'm going off what he did in Torchwood. I'm going off what he did in Broadchurch, especially.
Yeah.
I can just trust him a lot when it comes to characters, and I already feel extremely connected to all the companions, and of course Grace, which we'll talk about what happened to her in the end. But obviously there's still, I think, room for him to prove how good he can be on the other side of a Doctor episode, which is building up a villain, giving that villain a really good motive, making it threatening, and then obviously building an episode around it. But for a first episode, you can't expect too much. I thought his look was great when he took his mask off. We all genuinely sort of sat back, didn't we? And we all thought, "Oh my goodness!"
For a 7 o'clock time slot with a kind of a family audience.
Yeah, that was creepy.
All those teeth on his face was
creepy.
It was gruesome.
Yeah, I do think that the look of him was the best part about him. In terms of, what do you think of how he was in the story?
So I just felt a bit bored with him.
He just...
There wasn't much, like, I would have liked maybe him to recognise the Doctor, or in a way.
Yeah.
But it didn't, so I was like, eh.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
There wasn't that much of like a rivalry there.
No.
Yeah, I mean, because in the 11th hour, I remember the Doctor showed like Prisoner Zero clips of him from the past and showed who he is, and that really built that moment to go, oh my god, and then they were scared of him. So it would have been cool to see the villain recognise who the Doctor was, and then maybe she would have come across even more as the Doctor if maybe they'd have... I know Chibnall probably doesn't want to like use past Doctors, but that scene on top of the roof in the 11th hour just used it well, and it sort of made him more scared of the Doctor.
Yeah.
So I can see what you mean, but for a first episode villain, you can't really expect too much. I mean, what did you think of how he was in the story then? How he comes back every now and then for human trophies to take back to his planet to become the leader?
Yeah, I found it a bit kind of, because so we get the impression that he's sent to take this randomly chosen trophy back to his planet, but he also kills these other people without any sort of motive that I can understand, and he still takes their teeth.
Yeah.
which leaves me a bit kind of confused. Like, why do they need this random trophy? I don't know. It seemed a bit. I didn't really think into it too much. I just wanted to accept it, but it did have me thinking, why, a little bit. But in terms of, well, obviously the look was great. It did feel like intimidating because obviously there's this alien on the loose, and we didn't have any. We didn't because there's the electrical creature from the train. It wasn't clear as if this was a separate entity or if they were working together or what that was about. So I was intrigued about that to see where that they would come in if they were working together. And obviously it turned out that he was using that electrical thing. But yeah, I think they kind of got to my expectations. It reached my expectations, but it didn't exceed it.
Yeah, we can't expect too much from a villain. At the end of the day, it's just the first episode, isn't it? Really, so.
And so I've written down in my notes that. So I think later on in the series, so we will see this Tim Shaw again.
I hope we don't. I really don't. I honestly think he is one of them villains that should just be a one shot thing. When he got pushed off the crane at the very end, he disappeared, and I think if he'd have fell to the ground and was killed there and then, it would have maybe opened up the opportunity to see the Doctor be really angry at that kid, because she did seem pretty angry that he just pushed him in the first place. But the fact that they let the villain get away does open the door for him to come back. But I hope he doesn't. I'd hate him to be the villain that comes back in the finale, because he just isn't.
There's not really much there, is there?
Yeah,
really?
A finale type villain.
Yeah, I
agree with that.
I know they want to create their own villains and everything, and they could, add more to this villain to make him a bigger threat, I guess. But I would rather him be a one episode thing. Yeah. And I would have maybe preferred to see him just fall at the end, and then the Doctor would be fuming with the kid, and it would maybe show a different side to her.
See, I think for series 11 they're going to go for a different villain every episode. So I think that should already kind of contradict himself by bringing back a character from the first episode back to the last.
Maybe, yeah. I see what you mean. So what did you then think of the ending then, when with the crane, and of course the Doctor, Ryan and Yasmin are trying to get up one crane to get hold of him, save him, which I don't know what would have happened, to be fair, because he'd have probably just jumped across the crane and kept chasing them.
Yeah.
And then obviously you've got Graham and Gracie at the bottom trying to get rid of the electrical creature who was trying to take the crane down. What do you think of the actual ending then?
I never expected a death so early on in a series.
No, especially of a character that we kind of
especially
had
episode
known
1
through the whole episode. I expected kind of the throwaway deaths, like that, that security guard. I expected that, but I didn't expect someone like Grace, who was obviously a close family member of one of the companions, to be killed off on episode 1. I thought that was quite brutal, but it was kind of nice in a way to show that Chibnall isn't afraid to do things like that.
That scene was great, and it's also it's pulled on the heartstrings a bit.
It did, yeah. I think that proves how good Chibnall's character writing is, because I wasn't expecting it. I know she's not been seen in other episodes, but she was down as a recurring character.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole ending with let's just talk about Jodie jumping from one crane to the other, and then that final moment where she finally says, "I'm the Doctor, get off this planet while you still have the chance." I got shivers.
Yeah.
I did, and I like how they built up to that as well. She kept trying to say it, she didn't quite know, and at the end she was like, a bit of adrenaline, whatever, I know who I am.
Yeah.
And that's the moment when I would have maybe liked the villain to be like, oh,
yes,
crap.
I agree with that.
I know who you are. Because the Doctor should be known universally by...
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so I would have liked the villain to be a bit like, oh, crap.
Well, that what, for me, made the film disconnected.
Yeah, I agree. I see where you're coming from. So then obviously we see Grace's death, which I didn't see coming at all, and I thought it was a real shock. And it's kind of refreshing to see that Chibnall is willing to kill people off, because in the Moffat era, when someone was killed off, I don't know about you guys, but my instant impression is they're probably going to come back at some point.
Yeah.
If they are a character who's as well established as Gracie was, who I'd count as pretty much a companion at that point.
Yeah, and part of me even still has that feeling in my head that she's going to return, but then I keep on having to think that, wait, this isn't Moffat anymore. I have faith that she isn't going to come back.
So I think, Grace might come back as flashbacks in Ryan or Graham's head. in a way.
Yeah, that's the only way I would like her to see it come back, maybe.
Yeah.
But the thought of her being, she'd just got on this adventure. She even said to Graham, "Is it wrong that I'm enjoying this?" She was really getting into it,
Yeah.
and then,
All of a
as
sudden.
always, she, the whole, pardon the pun, but everything falls back down to earth, and the realization of the fact that people do die when the Doctor turns up. She's only known them for a few hours,
Yeah.
and look what happens.
Actually, that reminds me of another point where the Doctor kept on apologising for things, even though it wasn't her fault. Like when they all had to see that body on the ground with obviously like the tooth taken out, like she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry any of you had to see this," as if it was her doing.
Yeah.
I felt that was quite nice that she felt like it was her fault and she was apologetic, even though it really wasn't anything to do with her.
Yeah, I feel like this Doctor's got a lot more of a human side to her.
Yeah.
I kept thinking of either 10 off or the 5th Doctor, just with how human she is.
Yeah.
I would like to see something maybe get under her skin a bit more, which might have been if the kid had killed the villain, pushed him off the crane.
Well, you saw a kind of glimpse of that, but it didn't really go anywhere, because obviously she said, "Why have you just done that?" And then it just kind of left it there. We didn't see that, what was his name? Carl. We didn't see him again. So I don't know if there's a opportunity there for something to happen there. I would like to see something get kind of on her nerves a bit.
Yeah, there's still a first episode, so obviously
Exactly.
there's still time for her to find her Doctor and develop more. Then there was the funeral scene, and I don't know about you guys, but I felt like I was watching Broadchurch. I literally felt like I was watching a scene from Broadchurch. Just the direction, how everything went quiet, the acting, the dialogue. At the end, it just had a serial drama feel, and I think that's the difference that I can feel with Chibnall's Who so far. The sci-fi bits I think still need working on.
Mm-hmm.
I agree
But
with
in
that.
terms of the characters and them emotional scenes, you can tell that he's really, really good at them. And I don't know about you lot, but I felt Broadchurch at that moment. I just did.
Yeah, it's a mix of kind of the music, like I said, the kind of tone. Obviously, it was quite a solemn. It was a funeral, so yeah, it kind of got a bit of a. It didn't really feel like Doctor Who, but obviously then you've got the Doctor still at the back. That kind of brings it back to obviously it being Doctor Who.
And obviously we found out as well that even more about Graham at the end. Just when we'd had a horrendously emotional funeral scene, we then find out even more about his backstory, that she met him when he was ill through chemotherapy, which was I didn't expect.
I didn't see that coming.
heartbreaking.
I didn't see that.
That was so sad.
Yeah.
Because there was kind of like hints of that, because when he said about he said that he'd still be driving buses if he could.
Yeah.
And you're like, why isn't he? Is he just retired or something? Or but then obviously we find out then, and it's kind of a bit of another shocking revelation.
Yeah, it was a real shock to hear that that's how they met, and it just made the whole thing 10 times more sad and a bit more relatable as well. I'm sure there are fans who can relate to him, relate to Gracie, and relate to Ryan,
definitely Ryan
with dyspraxia. So maybe that's why people are maybe not getting used to Yaz as much, because there are these other elements to the other characters that are really relatable, that are probably going to tug at people a lot more.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've ever had a writer go that deep into a companion's
Backstory.
Especially in episode 1.
with such touching topics that early on as well. He's really established these, and he's really gave us a lot to think about in terms of them companions. We then see her get a costume as well in a charity shop, which was nice.
I love that bit.
A bit different. When she come out with a costume on, the music and everything was brilliant.
Now, and that to me, that was the moment I said, yep, she's the Doctor. No question about it.
Yeah.
She is the Doctor.
It's very difficult when she's still in, obviously, Beat Capaldi's old costume to kind of see her as a Doctor, but when she's got that costume on that we've seen her in promo pictures, like you see her in that costume and it's just kind of like, yeah, she's the Doctor.
Yeah, I agree. And then obviously the end, they all accidentally, I guess, get took away to the TARDIS, which is actually space, and we still don't know
seen
what
the
the
TARDIS.
inside of the TARDIS looks like. So I'm hoping we get that in episode 2. Someone on Twitter said we might not get to the end of the series, but that would be very difficult for them to not travel around without seeing the inside of the TARDIS.
Yeah.
And they've built the entire set, so to only show it at the end of the series.
Yeah, so they must show the TARDIS in episode 2.
For sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be at the end of episode 2.
I think it'll be at the start of episode 2 because, well, they obviously go to this planet, so at the moment they're in the middle of space, so struggling to
Yeah,
see
so how will they get to that planet?
unless they get captured
If they're
sort of
still in like
by that
another
ship,
space.
by another. Yeah.
Remember that large ship that appeared
Yeah.
and lands on the planet? That might be what picks them up. Who knows?
Questions.
Indeed. That's for the preview. We will
Yeah.
leave that to the preview.
A
So
nice
then,
cliffhanger.
yes, shall we conclude then on what we think and our ratings
Yes.
out of 10
Mhm.
for The Woman Who Fell to Earth? Who wants to go first?
So I thought that this was a brilliant start to a fresh new era of Doctor Who. It introduced all of the characters really well. The Doctor is incredible. Jodie Whittaker is a fantastic actress, and she's just instantly the Doctor. I liked how it wasn't focused on that she's a woman. I think there's only one, maybe two moments that it was even mentioned, which I think was really good because I was partly worried that they'd make a big deal out of it, which they didn't, thankfully. All the companions are really well written, down to earth, quite lovable and relatable. The villain Tim Shaw was an interesting villain, although there wasn't much to him. But visually, it was stunning, as was the whole episode. Actually, all the cinematography, direction, the visual effects, incredible. The train and the crane scenes in particular really stood out for me. Obviously, there were scenes of quite high tension, and they had me on the edge of my seat. And yeah, I think the episode just had elements of everything that was needed for a series opener. It ticked kind of basically every box, so I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Fantastic.
Should I go next?
Yes, why not?
So in conclusion, so I thought it was a very good opener for the new series. It was definitely a good jumping on point for new viewers. So I liked how we learnt about the new companions at the beginning, and we're also building up to seeing the Doctor. There's some creepy moments, so was the music, adding the drama. However, it did trail in the middle, because I was getting a bit bored of the constant questions. So I think they rushed the plot too much. Tim Shaw had promise, but still to this moment, I'm not quite sure as to how I feel about him as a villain. So the ending was Ryan's nan, and so also really tugged at the heartstrings at the end, and also learning about Graham's past, and so really had a depth to his character. And so you can tell where Chibnall's strength is. However, the highlight for me was the 13th Doctor. And so I really enjoyed her performance. Yeah, the funny moments were not too silly, and she was clever and as always, one step ahead. So also seeing her in her costume at the end was epic. And as the series goes along, there I am excited to learn more about her. It's the rating I've gone for a 7 out of 10.
Oh, she's gone one lower. She always
One
goes
lower.
one lower. Yeah, I agree. I think the opener ticked all the boxes it had to. It didn't have the grand scale of, a finale or what maybe some people would have expected, but it did everything in terms of establish the Doctor, establish the companions. I thought Jodie's for a first episode was brilliant. To think there's still more to come from her as well is just really exciting. She established herself as the Doctor. She showed different sides of her. Like I say, she wasn't too silly as well. The post-regenerative stuff wasn't pushed in your face too much. The three companions I thought were great. Graham's backstory as well as his comic relief was perfect. Ryan as well I thought was a really vulnerable, likeable character. Yasmin, I think there's still work to be done there, but I definitely wouldn't go as far as to say she's boring. The story it picked up at the start, lulled in the middle, picked back up at the end. I think too many questions and answers in a short space of time. I think if Chibnall could work on maybe spreading that out throughout the episode, that would work a little bit better. But his strengths are definitely character building because he did that perfectly well. I thought Tim Shaw was a good villain, obviously not spectacular, but he didn't need to be. Although I would hope to not see him again. I think that's enough for him. I think that should be his story done. And the end was epic, and I didn't see a death coming that soon, which shows that Chibnall does have the guts to obviously kill a character off this early, this quickly, and I did feel connected to that character, which shows how good he is at writing them. I just hope that she's not brought back and that he keeps to this, because it really will make a much more serious, cutthroat Doctor Who. And I think you can tell by the first episode that the show has taken itself a lot more seriously. So it ticked all the boxes, it had all the emotion, all the drama, great balance, and this is only episode 1, so there's a lot more to come. So I'm also going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Hey.
So me and Jacob snap. Liv, as always, is one lower.
I can't help it, that's how I rate
Harsh
it.
critic.
Indeed. And talking of 8s, let's just briefly congratulate them on the overnight viewing figures. 8.2 million That's brilliant for an opening episode.
Yeah.
That's already topped most of the episodes in Series 10 overall, not just overnight. That's incredible.
It's the highest episode overnight ratings, well, not including specials, but any compared to any other normal episode, it's the highest rating since Journey's End, I believe, is what I read.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
That is really good.
Nuts.
And I've seen that it's beaten 11th Hour and Deep Breath in terms of their overnight viewings as well.
Yeah.
So it's great to see it's massive congratulations to the team, isn't it?
It's all paid off.
Obviously there is going to be a drop off in terms of views, there always is.
Yeah.
But if they can consistently beat Series 10 and Series 9, I think that's a big success.
Yes,
I do. They could be bringing it back. I'm really excited to see where
I hope so.
Chibnall,
I really do
Jodie
hope
and the
so.
team take this. So is that everything that we've got to say in regards to The Woman Who Fell to
I
Earth?
think so.
So yeah.
I almost said The Woman Who Lived again.
Why?
Definitely not the woman.
Let's not talk about that episode. So yes, do like this review if you have enjoyed it. We are of course going to be reviewing every episode from Series 11 as well as previewing every episode from now on, as long as we have no more technical difficulties. We even had one for this very video, which we've now fixed. And I'm also going to be hopefully doing a little video in between, which I'm going to be doing like 5 talking points from the episode, 5 whatever. Still
5
need to
somethings.
work on the title. But a mini summary of every episode, basically, which should be different. But yeah, do subscribe to the channel if you want to look forward to all that. Comment below what your thoughts are on the episode. And if you want to follow us on all social media, head over to our website where you might be able to find all them details. Jacob might continue bringing back his weekly Doctor Who
Fingers crossed.
news bits. And hopefully we can get some people on board to write for the website as well, which we're working on. And if you want to support the channel, do head over to Patreon, where you can receive rewards and stuff if you want to support us and donate to help the channel out. But until next time, guys, thank you very much for watching. We will see you next time.